EA Interviews, episode 56.
Inspiration, transformation, success stories, and the imperfect action round. 7 days a week. Join Mario Ficini for today's Expert Authority Effect interview.
Authority World, I have another great guest, and I'm excited to have her on. Have you ever wanted to gain clarity? Have you ever wanted to gain confidence? Have you ever wanted to be connected deeper with your purpose? I'm going to bring up Sue, and we're going to go over these things on how it's going to help your life and your business. But first, let's thank our sponsor. How would you like to grow your wealth easier than you think with the change you probably don't notice anyhow automatically? That's why I started the Compounding Interest Snowball Investing with Acorns and advise you do too. Get started simply and easily today at eainterviews.com/acorns. And here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Sue Lundquist. How are you doing, Sue?
Oh, Mario, this was so wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. I want to know about your story. Tell me about how this all started.
Oh, my story. Well, I'm going to chop it down into manageable little pieces for the sake of the interview. But I was adopted at birth. From adoption to abandonment to abuses to moving to trauma to all this stuff leading up into my junior year in high school. And quite frankly, I had lots of deaths and traumas that were happening, and trying to manage my inner world and my inner drunk monkey and maybe my teen drunk monkey as a teen growing up. I was also a latchkey kid, so I was left to my own devices. And then when somebody tried to put me in the proverbial box, I was like, ooh, that doesn't fit real well. I've been doing really good on my own. But then, of course, with that came, there was confusion and adults trying to put me in their box, and I'm saying, no, that doesn't work. And so my life has been the proverbial, I don't know if it's proverbial, but it's been this beautiful song and dance, we'll call it, this opportunity to sing and dance on my way to having a better inner program in my melon, so I can be a better person out here to everybody and be a better service. I've always been loving and nurturing, but with that attribute that I really honor and love about myself, that loving, nurturing person can also be taken advantage of if you don't have your own boundaries. I think we can all really relate to that too. You want to be loving and caring and nurturing, but then you get taken advantage of, and there's just takers in the world, and some are bigger takers than others. And I found myself in the midst of a lot of takers. And so I had to reprogram and re-set up, re-lifestyle my life. And that has been probably a 30-year quest. Hopefully that answered your question. I just kind of jumped.
It did, and it reminded me we have a very similar background with the people we wanted to help and how we wanted to help them, because I can think of times myself personally where it's like I'd bend over backwards and die for someone, and then it's like they can't even call you back or email or text or whatever. And it's like, essentially that martyr syndrome where it's like, you want to save everyone, but at what expense? Well, you can't help everyone if you're literally dead. So where's that happy balance of it? So what inspired you to build an entire business around it?
Oh, personal development, spirituality has been part of my life since I was a young girl. The spirituality aspect of it has been with me since I was a little girl. Spirituality to me is the acceptance of all. I believe that there is a higher frequency and a higher different energy that we can all tap into. I personally have done that quite a bit, whether it's in meditation or when I'm doing my own personal practice. And, I totally got psyched. I was totally going to go on the left or right field, and I totally forgot what I was going to say. Repeat it again. Because I was like getting all juicy about my past and what I was going to do and spirituality and all of that. Now I've forgotten the question, so you have to ask it again.
I was asking, what inspired you to turn everything into a business? Because you could go through life and just keep helping people doing different things, but you definitely don't need to take all the risk that comes with being a business. What inspired you to want to do that?
So I reunited with my biological mom. I have had 3 girls, and this is really cut down for the sake of time and honoring yourself and our guests here. So being adopted, then in '94 I met my biological father. In 2003 I met my biological mother. And I'm getting to the answer to your question. I won't forget it this time, I promise, love. But in that process, it's a process of evolution. It's a process of forgiveness. It's a process of rediscovering. And actually, the day that I gave birth to my 3rd daughter, I got a letter, because at this point I'd given birth my 3rd daughter. I'm going to come home the same day. I got 2 other babies I got to take care of. Grab the mail, sitting on the couch, and hormones flying, and I get this letter from my biological mom. And among many, many beautiful things, the first few things that she said to me was, "You've never been a secret, and I've loved you since you were born." Bam! Incredibly life-changing in that moment. And I'm reading the letter and all of this. So even, I alluded a little bit ago when you asked the first question about my journey and how I got here. I think it started at birth. Then there was all these kind of opportunities throughout my life where I had to delve deep inside and figure out who I really was, and defining what that even looks like, defining what love, what self-love, what respect, what dignity, what integrity, all that stuff really meant. And then meeting my biological mom. And when that all happened, this is, again, gave birth to my 3rd daughter, met my biological mom. My dad that had adopted me came up with Lewy diffuse body disease. The house was in a remodel. All of my old traumas and junk were coming up for release. And quite honestly, I was on my pity pot. I was a mess in here, right? And I'm like, okay, Sue, how are you going to show up to these beautiful souls that you've just given birth to? How are you going to show up and show them and lead by example? And it started with gratitude. So my first book was the I'm Thankful Journal, and it's going back to basics and simplicity of gratitude, and having gratitude and thankfulness for the little things, that I have 2 legs, that I can stand on my own feet, that I can drink water from a tap, I have a refrigerator, I have electricity, I have a blanket, I have a bed, I have carpet. I'm really starting from, being truly grateful. And that's where the whole company aspect started, because it was my personal journey and I've walked the talk through it. So yes, to answer your question, it was gratitude to get myself out of my head and off my pity pot.
With your book and your trainings, how are you helping people, and what is the process you're taking them through?
Thank you for asking. Well, the book that I was alluding to, my first one, it's actually a journal. It's the I'm Thankful Journal, and it's more geared towards young families and teaching families how to teach themselves and also teach their children the fundamentals of gratitude and asking proactive questions. And that's where I started my journey, and it's extremely powerful. It's very, very easy, and a lot of young families just love it because the pictures and the journaling, and it's just feel good stuff. Now, the second book has been an evolution, and by that I mean it's been an evolution in creating my curriculum. We're talking well over 500 books, workshops, education, research and development. And I found with all these incredible thought leaders that were out there, that there wasn't practicality, the real life, give me something to chew on tools. Because I was like, I was listening and reading and going to all these incredible thought leaders of the world. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're blowing my mind. They're incredible. And then I leave, and then I'd be like, now what? Right? So and because I am so practical in that and the practical application of everyday life, that's where my curriculum began. And when I start and when everybody starts, the first thing that we all start with is awareness. Awareness has got to be number one, because if you got your head in the sand, well, denial's the easy old habit, right?
It's not, what's that joke? It's not the only river in Africa or something.
So I don't know. You're going to have to look that one up. I can't remember. But yes, it's not though. But denial isn't easy. It's what you've been doing for so long.
You can keep it. I mean, you can hang on to it for way too long. You know, people do it for their whole life.
Oh, they do. And and my heart goes out to them, to anybody that's struggling right now, because it's scary. Because when you start stepping, and you know this, when you start stepping into the rink of your life and standing there basically naked, just kind of standing there going, okay, I know something, I'm in full awareness. I know something is not right. I know for a fact this is not the relationship I want to be in, whether it's with myself or somebody externally. I know that for a fact, but where do I get the tools? How do I change my inner world? How do I change my inner programming so I can then start attracting, start creating the life I want externally and feel good with confidence and purpose within myself, and applying the practicality of it. That's where that gets juicy for me. And I love the practicality of real life tools. Like I said earlier, there's so much great wisdom out there and so many incredible thought leaders, but you got to break it down to basics. And I was going to go back to my curriculum. So it's awareness. And then under awareness, you've got a bunch of tools on clarity and mindset, and we could go into drunk monkey and boundaries and all kinds of great languages around boundaries and saying a respectful no. Like we talked about earlier, you know, being the love and the nurturer, and you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but you still.
Why don't you share one of those with Expert Authority World? What's one of the boundaries that someone could set up pretty easily?
Let's do boundaries around how I expect to be treated, how I would like to be spoken to. So if we're in a relationship, say to your beautiful audience, if you're in a position where you're in transition and you're not really quite sure you're building that confidence, but you're not really quite sure how it's going to be received. One, I'd like to say, do it anyways. I'm going to help you right now with the language. And the more you do it, the more confidence, and the more rehearsal that you do it, the more confidence that you'll get. So if you and I are having a conversation and I know for a fact that I'm changing the rules within myself, I'm going to come to you and go, it could be as generic as saying something like, all right, you notice that I've been doing some inner work. I really, really want to be able to have a safe space where I can come to you. I love us and our relationship enough that I'm going to respect you to be able to come to you and have this conversation. Is this a conversation that you and I both can have? Versus coming at it from a cutthroat kind of defensive, well, you don't listen to me. You don't talk to me. How come you don't communicate? You know, just.
Yeah, that's a totally different energy. It's a totally different space. And it's so much easier to have that conversation with someone. I know when I was doing some inner work that there was this exercise that we went through, and it was like, ask friends, ask family, ask whoever, you know, what's your experience of me? And it's like, there's no wrong answers. Don't be afraid of hurting my feelings, this, that, the other thing. But it's just this, you know, you could go 10 years, 20 years, 30 years or more, and people just never tell you something that's really not a big deal, and it's really not going to hurt your feelings, but they might be afraid, like, what are you going to say? What are you going to do? Let me ask you this. If you want to approach someone with that phraseology and have that heart-centered conversation, well, what if they're not receptive to it? What if they do?
Yummy. Wait, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What if they?
You know where I'm going with this. You can ask me that and I get where you're going. I can ask you that, you get where I'm going. But what if they're just, and I'm looking for a diplomatic word here. What if they,
shut down?
Let's say, lose their cool?
Lose their cool. Okay, so first and foremost, I would say if I was having this from a one-on-one coaching call, if I was talking to somebody, we would have had some back end work to do and getting really clear on how you want to present yourself, how you want to show up. I call that your personal code of conduct. That is like your personal navigation system. That is how you're going to make a left, make a right, go straight, go over the hill, go down the hill, metaphorically speaking, but honestly, it's a good metaphor for life, right? So your personal code of conduct is you getting very clear on how you're going to show up in this relationship. So if you're in a position where you are effectively communicating to the other person and the other person is not receptive, before that and before the conversation, you've had a pretty heart-to-heart conversation with yourself saying, is this person important enough to me to have this conversation? One. Two, if they are, then you explain that and you're honest and you show up how you absolutely authentically want to be, because you're doing a few things here. You are showing up authentically. You are showing up to be your perfect best in that moment. Now, what is it? Perfect effort, not like perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. It's perfect effort for where you're at. And you're also shining a light of example of how to communicate, even if they are combative and even if they're not responsive. Because and I know this because I've done this in my life, and they will go off and there'll be that squeaky wheel of how calm you were, how collected you were, and you know what, that might even irritate the heck out of them even more. But that's because of their stuff inside, right? That has nothing to do with you. But there was something you had said that there was two things I wanted to say, and these are really juicy things. I want to kind of play with your audience here. I want to ask a question. I'm going to ask you too, love. How important to you is trust?
Very.
Very, right? So if trust is a very important part of your life, business and personal, it would make absolute sense for you to put up boundaries. Because if people can't trust what you're going to say and how you're going to show up, or if I'm out there pleasing everybody, nobody's going to be able to trust me because I don't have any boundaries. I don't show up for meetings. I don't make those phone calls because I'm so dependent on the confidence that what I would get from doing so many other things for everybody else except myself. So if trust is important to you, really do a self-evaluation, get really clear on what that looks like and feels like to you, and then make choices based on that. So if you say you're going to do something, follow through and do it. Don't be late. Don't wishy-washy. And the word try, take the word try out of your vocabulary. I'm giving you and your audience some great superpower tips. Literally write on a piece of paper if you can with a black paper, put try, T-R-Y, a circle around it with a big X, because that forces you to get very clear on how you're going to show up and the questions that you're going to answer or ask, right? Oh, I'll try to take the trash out. Oh, I'll try to get up early. Oh, I'll try to get a pay raise. Oh, I'll try to communicate effectively. Ixnay on the ubith A of try A. I don't even know if that's a word.
I don't know what I should do here. I am so tempted to say thank you for sharing that. I'm going to try implementing it this week.
No, you are not.
But I do. I'm teasing. I do want to say your power medium is communication.
Oh, thank you. So you're going to tell the audience what we were going to have that conversation prior to the interview? Because we might. My homework.
We might. We'll see what happens here. I just figured out the flow to all of this, and we'll see where all this goes. But I wanted to make sure I told you, and it's absolutely communication. I hear exactly what you're saying.
Thank you.
And I'm not trying to hear it. I hear exactly what you're saying.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I mean that so heartily, because I ask this question to many people because, you know, and the question that I ask is, did I communicate that effectively? Because you get all this wonderful stuff in your head, and then when it comes out here, it's not always that effective.
Oh, believe me, you saw on the form getting ready for this. I'm working on it all the time too. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
do implement it, and I don't try to do anything. I do it.
You either do or you don't. And that's you. You do or you don't. And that's building confidence and trust with yourself, and then trust and confidence with those around you. Now, let me go back. This is a really, and I love analogies and acronyms. I love it because that's how we remember things. So, in the essence, in the desire to really do inner work, you're starting on that curiosity, that awareness, that exploration. Now, are you right hand or left hand dominant?
Right hand.
Pick up the pen with your left hand. You had to have real hardcore awareness to do that, didn't you?
Well, there wasn't one on the left-hand side. I'm trying not to knock anything over.
Yeah, that too. But it's the same thing when you start your inner process. You have to have hyper awareness. I'm right hand dominant, so it's a habit for me. I'll always go to my right side. I'll pick up everything with my right hand, my cup with my right. But where I'm going with this analogy is start grabbing things with your left hand. Start trying to write with your left hand. What's going to happen? Oh, the drunk monkey comes up. Oh, it doesn't look good. Oh, my S's are crooked. Oh, you're going to get judgmental. You're not going to want to do that. Same analogy with your inner work, right?
Absolutely.
Have that compassion. This is another Sueism. I'm going to give you another superpower tip. It's called the CCs in life. CCs for yourself and the CCs for me. And when you find yourself in that judgment, when you find yourself doing that to you or anybody else, go, well, I'm going to choose CCs because that's how I want to show up in the world. I'm going to have compassionate curiosity for myself and for those around me. If I can get curious, that takes the sting out of the potential opportunity of where I'm at right now.
That is some powerful information. That is very powerful.
Thank you.
So this is what you take people through, and I'm sure even more in depth in your training, correct?
Oh, heavens, yes. We've got this curriculum of questions and mindset tools, and it is so fundamental and practical and so easy. But you know this just as well as I do. It's easy, but you have to be the one to show up. I am giving you the fishing pole. You have to go fishing. You have to do the work. And when I talk to people one-on-one with coaching, we have a few minutes where we get to know each other. It's not a sales call. I don't do that. I want to know that I'm a good match for you and vice versa. And if it's not, that's great. And I also want to know if you're ready to do the work. And ready to do the work is I'm nervous and scared, but I'm going to do it, versus I'm nervous and scared, I'll try. No, not going to happen, my love. I'll say, you know what? I've got some online programs. Why don't you go check that out? Why don't you do my 16-day craziness clarity challenge? Why don't you do something else to kind of get your feet wet to see what that looks like for you? And then we can move on to one-on-one coaching or my live events or something like that.
So I want to ask you about your clients. Think of the number one client that has gone through your training and the biggest breakthrough you were able to give them.
Oh, what I'm doing is going into my heart space and going into gratitude, because when they come back to me and it's the simplest, it's so beautiful. This one beautiful young lady comes to mind, and a few actually, but it was so profound because she said, Sue, I have hope. Hope. I can see hope. I can see joy. And oh my God, it's been right in me all along. All along. It's so profound. Now that's just an emotional standpoint. I've had a client of mine, and she wanted to find her ideal partner, her ideal mate. And I sat down literally for 20 minutes with her, had her get very clear. She's now married and happy. It only took her 3 weeks. I've had a gentleman that I was on the phone with, and the tools and language that I helped him recreate for his mindset, he's tripled his income. Why not? right? So there's some really deep emotional stuff that's happening. There's financial gains that are happening. So if it's vitality, if it's wealth, if it's confidence, all of that, you can gain that in these simple programs, whether it's the online, it's person to person, or workshops. And of course, my next book that's coming out. Oh!
So those are great breakthrough stories of your clients. Let me ask you about your personal transformation from doing a book and your podcast.
Oh, my personal transformation. And yes, so when we started this interview, we talked about my first book. And when you have a book, you go through the publication and promotions, and it was print publication, radio, TV, all that stuff, right? And I said, all right, universe, what do you want me to do? And they said, you're going to do radio. I'm like, live radio? You want me to do live radio? Who's telling me to do live radio? That means I have to stand in my truth. I have to speak up. What if I don't even know what my own truth is? I don't know how to be confident. I don't know how to speak on a radio. All these, and who do I think I am? I'm just Sue. Well, Super Sue now, but you know. And all these questions come up, and they're honest questions, and honest questions that many of your listeners, I'm sure you've had in your past. Still, there's little parts I still get. And it became the radio show, radio network, from radio network. And I'm still doing the radio show, podcasting, and then my company. And that evolutional process for me is and has and continues, and this is the important part, continues to be my not only evolution, but my daily practice of inner work. I show up every day. I give it my perfect effort with the tools and what I have right now. Does that mean it's going to turn out roses? No, that's not life. That's not real life. There's hurdles, there's opportunities, and I may lose my shiitake mushrooms every so often, and that's fine. That's real life. But I guess the important part is what I'm telling you and your beautiful people, that I walk the talk. I'm not perfect. I will make mistakes. I'll stumble, but at least now I have the tools that I can put in place. So if I do kind of do a little stumble, I can go right back again. It's that little refractory period where you don't go into that self-pity and all that negative Nelly and that drunk monkey, and you stay there for a long time. You can pull yourself right back out again.
Well, it sounds like you're making tremendous progress, and congrats on that.
Thank you.
We're going to go into the imperfect action round. We're going to thank the sponsor, but I want to ask you, what is something you've never told anyone?
What is something I have never told anyone? That I struggle with self-confidence.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Would never know that.
Good. Then I'm doing the work.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so I have, I've got my inner programming and stuff, and for a long time, it's been that confidence issue, right? That true love for myself, and that is ever evolving. And having a house full of raging teenage girls, 19, 18, and 16, they will show you every crack, crevice, dark space that you have ever had in your past. And that will bring up triggers like you have never been triggered in your life. And you have to own it. So I have got a petri dish with my teens, and I honor it. Sometimes I lose my shiitake mushrooms. Not sometimes. There's a few times. And my red wine. And my exercise and my dog.
Well, I appreciate you for being honest and transparent with us. We're going to go to the sponsor, and we'll be back for the imperfect action round. Invest automatically, save for later, and spend today. That's why I love Acorns. I used to think spare change didn't make a difference, and saving and investing was an old-fashioned manual process. It's not, and it's a game changer. If you're not leveraging compounding interest in your business and life, automatically you're missing out. Acorns not only makes saving and investing easy and automatic, it makes it even more valuable by investing with diversified portfolios, spare change, extra cash, and rounding up everyday transactions. You can even set recurring monthly investments in the amount you desire. To make good great, there is also a debit card option that will continue to help you save and invest even further when you spend. Plus, no minimum balance and overdraft fees. Now, for the cherry on top. They have partnered with 250 plus companies and brands, and growing, with their Found Money program to invest back a percentage into your account with the everyday purchases when you shop. Two of which you're probably listening to this right now through an Amazon or Apple device. Get started profiting from your everyday life and business simply and easily today at eainterviews.com/acorns. Once again, that's eainterviews.com/acorns. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen. Sue, are you ready to take imperfect action?
Imperfect action, absolutely.
What is the first question I'm going to ask you? What is the fastest path to the cash?
Oh, that. I was looking at my notes. What is the fastest path to the cash? Clarity. Clarity. If you are wishy-washy and unclear on what that path looks like, even before that, on what this beautiful vessel looks like, feels like, shows up like, it won't feel right. It won't be in congruence. It's almost like it won't matter. I mean, yeah. You and I have had this conversation, and I think it's a good conversation to have because there's many spiritual people out there and spiritual advisors, and call them gurus, whatever language or title you want to give them. And they, in my experience, I'm not generalizing. Please don't send me emails about any of this, but I'm not generalizing. It's just for the sake of the conversation that there's a hang up around money. There's a hang up that I don't know if it's worthiness. There could be worthiness issues, but it's okay, guys. You need to have money to be of service. If you want to be of service, you will earn an income. So you can do more and you can be expansive. It just is what it is. I choose that. Absolutely. What about you?
I think that's a great answer, and I'm smiling because I have some guests that are specific. The entire topic and conversation, the whole episode was on how money shows up in your life, the mental blocks, different things. There's actually 3 or 4, I want to say 5 now, that I have full episodes on how the money relates to business and the inner work and different things and, different aspects of it. But it's fascinating. It's fantastic. And absolutely, because I was smirking when you said you're going to earn an income. I'm like, yeah, you're not running a nonprofit, but here's the deal. Even nonprofits have to be profitable. And people don't realize that.
And there's many nonprofits that are making a ton of money. Actually, the CEOs are making a ton of money.
I've told my own clients, I go, why are you being so selfish? Because they don't see it that way. But realistically, if you're only preparing to be if you're doing enough to get through this week, this day, this quarter, you're not really ensuring you're going to be around a year from now. If you really want to be of service, how are you not having a plan that, if things go up and down, which they will in business, how are you going to be around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years from now?
Now, that's a really good question. And it's not just fly by the seat. Oh, I'm just going to be guided by my intuition. I'm just going to fly by. I'm just going to make it happen. Blessings and miracles do happen. I'm not poo-pooing any of that. However, having when we're talking business and entrepreneurship, and you can, I'm sure, attest to this and probably talk a heck of a lot more than I can. But and this was something I had to learn too, because there was a lot, and there has been a lot of my choices based on my intuition, on what feels right to me. However, in business, it's a different animal. It is a different animal. You need to have clarity. You need to have a foundation. You need to have those foundation pieces put in place for an expansion and evolution, for it to continue on. And finding a professional like yourself that can help putting those pieces in place and to help that evolution. Absolutely, hands down, is very important.
Well, I appreciate that. And I was also smirking because in between doing back-to-back interviews, I saw a couple emails, and one of them was more payments are coming through, more things are coming through. And it was, I see it as, I pray every day that, Lord, take everything off of me so I can focus on everyone else. And there's been times where maybe I'm not focused on everyone else because I'm trying to work through my own shiitake mushrooms. And it's very freeing to go, you know what? This isn't to say, look at me. It's to say, I'm here for you and I can be fully present for you instead of like looking at the clock going, what's going on? Okay, great. We got through it. I don't want to get through it. I want to enjoy it and bring my best the same way you are. And I very much appreciate that because I think everyone would agree with us. This is going phenomenally well. So thank you.
You know, good comment, but also what's coming up for me when you say that, you can see in a conversation, in an engagement, when it's authentic, right? You can see if it's in congruence with what's happening here, and if it's not, you're going to feel something if you're in tune. And even if you're not in tune, something just doesn't feel right. They're not engaged. They're not there for the right reasons. So that could be a flag to you that says, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to give you love and blessings. And I'm going to send you on your way because that's a boundary, right? It's not somebody I want to dance with right now. And that's fine, right?
I will tell you, especially with doing the show, especially with doing it on video, and especially doing it live, you can't hide anything.
Nothing.
And
nope.
I've told people, there's people I personally tapped and invited for the show, and I know they have the content. I think they're honestly just afraid. They're honestly just afraid because you cannot hide. So
no, you cannot.
It's interesting. It's very interesting, and I'll leave it with that. So the second question I have is, what is the biggest problem you see your prospects making, and how's the fastest way they can fix it?
Oh, self-sabotage. Love that self-sabotage.
Everyone does.
Ah!
It's so fun, right?
And I can get caught up and spin out in it too.
I got
to go do the dishes because I'm an entrepreneur and I can work from home or a beach. Oh,
I make my own schedule. That means I'm going to take 6 days to do what should take me an hour.
Yes, self-sabotage. Self-sabotage, the sparkly things. So really getting clear on what that looks like. And also I would say limiting beliefs, the subconscious, and that would be a whole nother show.
What's the fastest way they can fix it? Come on. It's a 30-second answer. You know, you can just replace your entire life.
Yeah. Well, one, take the word try out of your vocabulary because you've got to say
again,
yes or
I
no.
was joking. I did that for comedic
but
relief.
I was giving you a great answer. It's the clarity. It really is. And you getting very clear on your yes and no answers. I answered that very well.
You did. And I was just like, I got to say this. I knew it was going to push a button.
It's a good button.
All right. So 3 with, how do you maximize customer lifetime value?
How do I maximize customer long-time value? Genuine, authentic engagement. Seriously. I care. I truly care.
Okay. I know you do. That's why I invited you and told other people no. I mean, straight up, I'll never forget the day I posted on Facebook. There's people reaching out and they're going, I want to be on your show. I want to be on your show. And I'm thinking, well, that's good for you. And a few hours later, I was like, why don't I want them there? And I just literally was reflecting and I go, it's not that they're not qualified. I mean, they're very successful. It's pretty much everyone I know. And I was like, it's not that they're not qualified. It's just that I don't like them. And I go, that's awesome. So I put, it's not that you're not qualified, comma, it's just that I don't like you. I didn't tag them. I wasn't in that kind of mood. But yeah, don't be one of those people.
No, don't. And you know what? To those that are those kind of people.
Stop it.
And stop. Yeah, find the tools. And, find the tools, because everybody, if you choose yourself over denial, if you choose a better outcome over denial, and find the tools that work for you, try on the hats. Don't get frustrated with the first hat, the second hat, or picking it up with your left hand for the first time. Left, that was your right.
No.
Wait.
Yeah, we're on camera.
Okay.
It's now in the right position, though.
Okay.
It was out.
Yeah, so do that. Start really having that hyper awareness of what's showing up in your life. How are you showing up in life? And getting really clear on that. And if you want more tips and tools, of course, go to my website or, do any of my online programs. And
yeah, you can. Why don't you tell them the website real quick?
SueLundquist.com. That's SueLundquist.com.
Very good. I'll make sure that's in the show notes. So I want to ask you about a book. What is a book that's changed your life?
Oh my gosh. The first two that really, actually three. Miguel, it's Miguel. The Four Agreements. I'm looking at the book right there. Four Agreements, Rising Strong, Brene Brown, and Changing the Habit of Being Yourself, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Excellent.
Yeah. I love all of those authors. Incredible thought leaders and people.
So I'm going to do another expert authority roller coaster here because you kept stressing this left thing and with my left hand, and I totally got that right the second time. Do you want to try saying the alphabet? Backwards.
No, I should have written it down. ABC. No.
I should put that in there.
You should, but I'm holding this up with my left hand. Does that count? I swear I'm in hyper awareness. I'm right here. But yeah, it's a nice analogy. Time to shine. Yes. It's beautiful. What is your favorite book? What book changed your life?
First off, the Bible.
Yes.
Another couple ones, my favorite are Trust God for Your Finances, one of the best scriptural books, and Hung by the Tongue. You want to talk about words?
Oof.
And the power of words?
Wow.
Hung by the Tongue, Francis P. Martin, and you can literally read it. It's 88 pages, I want to say.
Hung by the Tongue. I'm writing that down for those of you who are watching because I got to look at that. That sounds painful, by the way.
You'd like it. You'd get a lot out of it.
Okay. I wrote it down. Thank you.
It's a good one. It's a very good one. So depending what people... you asked me what my favorite are. Yeah, that would be mine. And it just depends. There are so many good ones. And it's interesting because I've asked people and they go, oh, I recommend my book. I go, we can plug your book later. I'm asking but no one has said it yet. I've asked what book has made the biggest impact. There was a couple times I slipped. I generally don't say business book. I'm waiting for someone to say whatever they want. But because I have 48 other business questions, people go, oh, here's a good one, or here's a business one, or I'm like.
Well, that's interesting to me, and I think that it's not and I think that it is. I am so driven by the emotions, and maybe it's female, the emotional personal development aspect of it. I go out and hire people to help me from the business aspect of it because that's not my weak point. I'm not going to do it. Now, if they want to come to me on the personal development and get the practicality on and some really good inner mindset tools and strategies and clarity, absolutely. But you know what? I'm not going to do stuff that I suck at, and I'm going to hire that out, and I'm going to find professionals that are going to help me do that.
But that's smart because you recognize it's not your power medium and you're playing to your strengths.
Yes, that's right. The word power medium.
That was good. I should ask it, but I know we have to wrap it up. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're awesome.
Thank you. What a treat. Really. It's an honor. Let me know how I can be best of service to you and your beautiful people that are listening. Thank you so much.
The pleasure is mine, Sue. Take care and God bless. Woo!